Hello, just want to show you a video real quick of some Bad Company 2 gameplay. What I'm doing is I'm using a head tracker, and here I'll go ahead and start the video here. What it is a gyroscope that's attached to a ball cap, and it's basically just for mouse movement, just for head tracking capabilities. And I have it actually connected up to an Xbox controller. And on that controller I have the ability to left click with the mouse. I have an extra button on the bottom, and that's strictly for external of game mouse clicks, just for navigation purposes. And on the back I have a reset button, and what that does is if the head tracking goes a little bit out of alignment, or if I need to adjust in the game, even though it's it's because it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and the screen is actually fixed, it's not moving with my head. Some reset adjustment is needed, but it's very quick. You'll see in the video, if you take a look at my head movements and the testing done on the first-person shooting game here, it's really accurate. It follows. It's a 1-to-1 ratio on this. It's almost as accurate as using a mouse for somebody who's fairly experienced with the mouse. There's obviously tips and ways to increase your aiming accuracy with a mouse, but this here, it kind of allows you to have that accuracy with a little bit more of a fun factor and realism, without having a huge learning curve, or worrying about setting your hand a specific way. But you notice here, this is the initial testing here, and you'll see just from aiming at the doors and windows, this is all done with, you can see at the top there, with just the head tracking. I'm not using the remote quite yet, but what I do have is the right analog stick is also mouse movement, but the sensitivity on it is extremely low. And that actually helps, because the sensitivity on the head tracking is so high that it does track, the small little shakes that you have. So sniping isn't really accurate, or long-range shots isn't very accurate using the head tracking. So the button on the back, the reset button, will allow you to disable the head tracking independently of the actual gameplay itself, and then use the right analog stick for long-range shots. But you'll see here in a second those cement plates. It's a good example of the accuracy and the quick response of the head tracking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then even the handgun. So checking corners is very quick. Moving back to almost the exact position that you were looking before you checked your corners is very quick. And here, that aiming was actually disabling the head tracking and using the right analog stick to do the aiming through the window there. So a lot of people in this game use tanks up on the hills, and they'll do long-range shots with the tanks. So this is a good example here of disabling the head tracking and then using the remote to fine-tune, to shoot at the building up there. And it also works for basic navigation of all the vehicles. The tank does not have the head tracking the same as the helicopter or the Jeep does. So I believe a lot of people have complained about the sensitivity with the tank, with using anything other than a mouse or a gaming mouse where you can automatically adjust the sensitivity. So I wouldn't actually recommend using the head tracking specifically for the tanks, even though it does technically work. The Jeeps and the helicopters is where it really shines, where you can actually do head tracking like this, specifically for just looking around, external from where you're driving or flying. And that's really nice, especially in this game, because let's say you're going down a path here, and you want to check your sides to make sure there's nobody over there. It does help, again, with the realism effect and the fun factor, which I think it's more beneficial for that. But once you get used to it and you understand its capabilities for in-game play, like this here, looking around the buildings and things like that, it can actually prove to be very beneficial for taking the objectives. Mainly used for aiming. For, you see here, the quick aiming on the vehicles there. And even here, no analog sticks are used, no mice are used, just the head tracking in that. The helicopter is nice because in this game also we have this, the ability to actually look around. You know, you have your third-person view there to check to see if anybody's trying to get in the helicopter with you. But for flying purposes, let's say you're coming over here and you want to look a little bit sideways without actually having to fly over there to look, you can still go in the direction that you want to go. And just kind of look around and see what's going on if you actually have the time to do that. You know, it's really nice, actually. It's really accurate. It follows the head, again, 1-to-1. And here I think I have a little, you know, problem with it because I don't believe I pushed in the reset button right here when I tried to head track. And it kind of messed up my flying a little bit. But that's the thing about the helicopter, is this thing that I have now, in order to fly, because the helicopter uses the mouse to actually, you know, navigate with the default settings, you have to disable the head tracking while you're flying unless you're in the free view mode. But that's really easy to learn. It's really easy to get used to push the buttons really fast. And you know, again, I'm using the Xbox controller, not using keyboard and mouse at all. Here's another fine-tune example through the window. That was without the head tracking, just using the low sensitivity analog stick. Because a lot of people say that, you know, joysticks or Xbox, PlayStation controllers isn't good for aiming in these type of games for the PC, and actually you have less of a chance of, you know, your accuracy is a lot less, which is actually true. So this is hopefully a good way to counter that and be able to use the controller but still have the ability to move and aim like a mouse does. Like here, your, you know, side-to-side movements, which is really helpful in first-person shooters, but you're still aiming at the target. It's very fluid movement, just like you'd be using a mouse. That's pretty much it. I just want to show you guys real quick something I'm working on, kind of a collaboration between the game sticks and all that. Alright, that's it, guys.